Hi, I'm Kaz Pearman from What's New in Electronics. I'm here today at Electronica 2022 and I'm joined by Gerry from Thermco Systems.
Hi, good morning. That's a pleasure, thank you.
So, tell us a little bit about what's been happening for you over the past couple of days, obviously being at Electronica.
Well, the first thing is that we were here last year just following COVID and it was very, very quiet. But what is evident today, and you can see around the stands to show the attendance, is you can see a significant increase in pass-through customers, and it's been really a wide awakening for us all. So it's been a good show, lots of new technologies, there's quite a number of mergers, which is important, and there's also new materials coming on.
So in terms of the history that Thermco has in this industry, are you able to share a little bit about that, Gerry, in terms of where you fit in the, not only in the hall but actually in the sector itself?
Well, Thermco is, as the name actually indicates, it's a thermal company traditionally, and if you look at anything to do with semiconductors, chips, compound, the most critical point in any device is actually the thermal budget, the way that you actually you manufacture the devices. So Thermco has specialised in that since 1966, and it's been one of the main players. We started first of all in thermal. We've now gone into epitaxy, we've gone into wet cleaning. So we have a reasonable spectrum across the semiconductor sector.
That sounds incredible. So in terms of it being at a show like Electronica, where do you see Thermco fitting in that, when you're covering such a broad environment?
I think if you actually look at a silicon wafer or a compound device, the very first process after the cutting of the ingot and slicing the wafer itself is a thermal process. And so the initial oxide or the first initial doping, it requires the thermal activity. And so I don't think there is actually a company in the world that does not use a thermal process using silicon or compound materials. So it's very critical to us, but also listening to what the customers require going forward, because the substrates being used will change. Because silicon although it's very critical in every component we use, it still has got some limitations as far as bandwidth is concerned. So we're interested in what some of the new components are, some of the new compounds are, and we see some great opportunities in that.
So looking forward, looking ahead?
Looking ahead, once again, I think we've got to change with the times, and although it's a traditional company like since 1966, we've got to grow with the times and we've got to adapt to the times. And I think we can, because we're so close to the customers, we can see which way the market's trending, and hopefully we can actually ride that wave with them. But we've got to be proactive, we've got to work closer to our customers and also our suppliers.
And in terms of a new company you were discussing?
Yeah, it's a new company. It's in the silicon carbide, and because we're at the very front of it, there are some limitations, and mainly on the equipment and also the substrates. Some of the physical handling of those materials is not available. So what we've got to do is recognize what they are, and we have recognized, and we felt, well, to do this product, we can't buy it anywhere in the world, so we thought we may as well do it for ourselves. So our biggest customer initially would be ourselves. So we thought, well, we can spin out from that, but first of all, we've got to manage the market and meet the market, we've just got to actually produce our own equipment, like the industry did back in the 60s.
Fascinating.
So most of the big companies like Texas Instruments, Plessey, Motorola, Siemens, Bosch, they all made their own equipment. And it was only later they found that some of the suppliers could supply them better and they would concentrate on the device manufacturing. But in some cases, if it's so leading technology and the equipment isn't available, they've either got to come to someone like myself or one of the big companies, but generally they go to the smaller companies because they're more flexible, and then work with them, and then if the scaling comes up, they then go to the bigger companies. So we're in a good position to work and do R&D for some of these leading edge big companies, blue chip companies.
And in terms of that skills gap, obviously as you're forefronting that, how does that impact?
The skill set is big. I mean, there's a lot of universities, there's a lot of colleges. In the old days, you had a skill set which was very versatile. You would get actually a process engineer doing maintenance, they would actually be doing design. Today, because the scale so much, you don't get that. But so how do you fill that skill gap? I think to me, you've got to work with universities, colleges. You've got to work with apprenticeship schemes. So most of the key people I have got, I would have turned around and said, youngsters we've actually brought through either apprenticeship schemes, university schemes, putting them through a PhD. And the thing is, if you don't have the attraction, they'll move on. And so it's important to get youngsters, get them excited, and then give them room for expansion, give them new products. Otherwise, they will move on. And it's the same, I think, right across the whole sector. Education and training is critical for any company, for the whole industry going forward.
And in terms of also that sense of collaboration with others in the industry, I mean, is that something also that you're seeing more so since COVID, where, as you said previously, it was very much insular, and now people are looking beyond their four walls?
I think the thing is, if you go in the past, everyone was a competitor, and this is not what we're doing. Even the big guys were big competitors. Some of the big guys have been trying to acquisitions, merger. A lot of it's been blocked because of either big customers or even governments not wanting it. So that's changing a little bit. So as far as I'm concerned, I would rather go along the cooperation rather than the competitive. Yep. So even this show, I've talked to 2 competitors who've got similar problems, and what we've done is we've agreed that we need to cooperate. And so I would say that they've all been receptive to it. And so I would have said, even in America, looking for European partners, cooperation with, and doing joint R&D development. It's faster for both of us to get a market, which is very critical. So I would say it's cooperation, not competition.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time today, Gerry.
It's a pleasure.